Hey guys, I'm Marco Velasquez.
And I'm Austin Lee, and you're listening to Ninja Wizard Unicorns, a podcast about demystifying creativity and the design world.
Let's get started.
It's 2020, and we're going to be talking about Froot Loops' new Toucan Sam mascot. So the world's upset, Marco. Everyone is upset. I just want to know what your opinion is about this amazing new design.
How do I feel about this rebrand? I think I like it. and I like it for probably the wrong reasons because
okay. I understand. I mean, I agree. I can feel why people are upset.
The audience that's upset, it's people like us, our age, right? It's our generation. We grew up with 3D rendering. It was flat. That's what we kind of like recognize, and that's what we remember. And when you see something like this, it's like it's a giant leap, right? It's something we never seen before. But the kids now, they see that. They know what that is. They relate to this sort of mascot because it's similar to the way cartoons are now, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, I guess to go further on that, like, yeah, I agree with that. Like, the shift was definitely it was if we had to explain it, like every other brand seems to incrementally change when they've built enough brand equity. You don't want to mess with the secret formula. You want everyone to kind of remember what it still looks like. And this one was a very drastic change, stylistically, color palette wise, every which way you could possibly change this. It definitely looked like a full transformation, which is very jarring for most people, and it is sort of awkward, especially when you have sort of the consumer base that it was meant for still around. Like if you look at historically how much they would change Toucan Sam, it has definitely changed a lot from what we were used to in like 2019 to when it was first originally made. It definitely had its own differences, and I guess like that jump forward here is like another. It's like if all that change happened at once.
One of the giant drastic change, it's beak, right? It's a gradient. Instead of just having these solid colors, right? These solid layers of colors.
I have some small things I don't like about that beak. I mean, I get what I mean, like the thing that about that beak that's specifically weird to me is it's no longer working like a beak. It's his mouth is existing along kind of where his beak should have ended, and his skin. And his beak doesn't open like a beak anymore. The gradients being blurry felt so strange. And I feel like they've used that before with like kind of like color scented rainbow smell lines, and they probably decided let's go crazy with it and like have his whole nose be sort of like this I don't know, this glow beak. I don't know what else to call it, but it felt like if you looked at him by himself there, that stylistic choice of not having any hard lines, vector lines there, like felt very different.
Yeah, it's definitely different, especially when the rest of his body is solid colors, right?
Yeah, yeah. Oh, and don't get me started on like weird anatomy of Fruit Loops that I had like, and then there's like all this weird stuff about like how his hands would become physical, like blue hands, and then like that's what he had. He didn't have feathers. I mean, if we go more into the video, you see the new Toucan Sam, and then you also kind of see where Fruit Loops may be referencing all this new artwork from. It seems very reminiscent of cartoons. Mascots had always kind of taken on that approach of like taking on the aesthetics of the cartoons during that time period. So it makes sense to take all this new stylistic approaches and portray it for this younger audience.
No, definitely. Actually, when doing a little bit of research of like what cartoons are out there, it aligns perfectly with what Teen Titans Go is, with Adventure Times. There's all these flat 2D cartoons with almost like a superimposed background, right? Realistic, which is what the commercial has, which is these 2D animations with the like realistic background.
but it's going to be interesting to think about like how if they are going to take this back, because the outcry has been very negative. I feel like public opinion can sway so strongly at sometimes if they're vocal enough. Like I'm just thinking about certain even movie productions at this point, like Sonic the Hedgehog and Cats. They had they had taken the movie down and they decided, no, we will redesign Sonic, the whole look, and we'll also like, oh, the CG was weird, the graphics were weird, they're gonna change it. What do you think?
With brands like this, they always kind of like tease you a little bit, right? Because even in the commercial, you see the older mascot that's there. So they're
oh,
not.
you think this is an elaborate scheme?
Maybe
This is
it's
an
just.
elaborate scheme.
Maybe it is. Maybe it's just like they trying to throw it out there, see how people react. But the people that
Sometimes I
react
think
to it is the older audience, which is us. But again, it's not for us. It's
yeah,
for the younger.
this is how they get us. This is how they really get us. Now we're gonna buy all those Toucan Sam old Toucan Sam Fruit Loop boxes, and then they're like, "Oh, I guess they liked it," and then they go back. Is that what's gonna happen? But it is interesting, that point that you mentioned earlier about how the old Toucan Sam was on the old box.
Yeah.
If it was a real full blown thing, I feel like they would have completely swapped it. I don't know now, like that's the one thing that's keeping me so confused. Like why was the old Toucan Sam on the box?
And yeah, and I won't be surprised if they even change the Fruit Loops logo. Like it's changed in the past. Maybe there's a bigger change to come as well. What if they change the whole packaging itself, right? What if it's they do a rebrand on the actual Fruit Loops logo?
I still can't believe that there's the new. I didn't even believe that was the new Toucan Sam for some reason, because they had just had the old one still there on the box. It would make sense for me if like that also changed as well. It felt like maybe the decision not to fully have that new box potentially. I mean, if they're really being serious about this being the new Toucan Sam.
Yeah, it has to be new and it has to change. Like the years go on, and like they have to gravitate to a newer audience. That's it. All right, guys, that's a wrap. Stay tuned for more creative talk.
Bye.